Dear colleagues, please take your seats and we are ready to continue our session. We now go to item number 6 on our agenda, which is adoption of the Bucharest Final Declaration. It consists of the final resolutions from each of the 3 general committees, together with the 16 supplementary items referred to the general committees and the plenary. All the documents were considered by the drafting committee, which met yesterday, chaired by Lord Smith of Hindhead. There are some minor editorial and drafting changes in the texts before you, but there are no changes of substance. To answer a query from the delegation of Azerbaijan, some wording which has reappeared in this draft will be reverted to what was agreed in committee in the final version. Sorry for the oversight. Under Rule 39.2, no further amendments can be proposed at this stage. No oral amendments can be considered when voting on the adoption of the final declaration. First, we will vote on the preamble and then the resolutions passed by each of the 3 general committees. We will then take the supplementary items that were sent to the committees. If there is an objection to a paragraph, only the following may speak: 1 speaker against the paragraph, 1 speaker in favor, and the rapporteur of chair or chair. We first go to the draft declaration of the first committee. And there is a separate vote that has been requested on paragraph 25 by Ms. Bokuchava from Georgia. And you can find the paragraph 25 on page number 4. First, does the Assembly agree to the preamble and all the paragraphs in the text up to that point, that is, paragraphs 1 to 24? Any objection? They are agreed. We now come to paragraph 25. Ms. Bokuchava, you have the floor for 1 minute to oppose the paragraph.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to thank the United States delegation for its leadership in bringing forth all of its amendments to Assembly resolutions pertaining to the deteriorating situation in Georgia. After thorough consideration of the complex dynamics at play in the context of Russian occupation of Georgian territories, we have come to a mutual understanding with the United States delegation to strike out paragraph 25 as amended, retaining calls in the resolution for the withdrawal of Russian forces from the occupied regions of Abkhazia and South Ossetia, and stressing the importance of the international Geneva discussions in paragraphs 60 and 61, respectively, as they stand. We would like to kindly urge Rapporteur Winkler and the Assembly to support this mutually agreed upon decision and vote to remove paragraph 25. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of the paragraph? If not, I would like to ask the opinion of the committee chairman, Mr. Hudson, to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I do concur with the motion to strike this paragraph. I think taking into consideration all the factors, I think it is correct, and I would urge my colleagues to support the motion.
Thank you. We will now vote on the paragraph number 25. Those in favor of keeping the paragraph, please show your cards. Thank you. And those wishing to remove the paragraph, please raise your cards. Any abstentions? It is to be rejected. Yes. Thank you. The paragraph is agreed to be rejected. Now, does the Assembly agree to all the paragraphs after the paragraph 25 up to the paragraph number 73? Any objection? They are agreed. We then go to the draft declaration on the second committee. Thank you for your patience, all in order. And we now go to the draft declaration on the second committee. And we will take paragraphs from 74 to 145 of the draft declaration. Does anyone want a separate vote on any of these paragraphs? If not, we will take paragraphs from 74 to 145 together. Any objection? Thank you. Paragraphs from 74 up to 145 are agreed to. We then go to the draft resolution on the third committee. A separate vote has been requested on paragraph number 177 by Mr. Richard Hudson from USA. And the page. You can find the paragraph number 177 on page 21. First, does the Assembly agree to paragraphs in the text up to that point, that is, paragraphs from 146 up to 176?
Madam President, point of order. May I have?
Yes, please go ahead.
Madam President, dear colleagues, you made some clarification concerning our remark that there was some, let's say, technical mistake in the paragraph 173 and in paragraph 186, which was originally adopted in different way, but there was, by mistake, the wording instead of Karabakh conflict, but Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. You rightly mentioned this clarification and asked for the Assembly to be taken into account that was adopted originally in the third committee. I just wanted to thank for your clarification. I hope that such a technical mistake will never take place in the future, but also I deem it necessary to make such a clarification to all the entire Assembly that we are waiting for the draft resolution that had been adopted by third committee, particularly in paragraph 173 and 186. Just this clarification from my side need to be delivered to our esteemed colleagues. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Mr. Guliev, I think I already commented on that at the beginning of the session, and we can all agree to what you just said. So I just repeat what I said a moment ago. Does the Assembly agree to paragraphs in the text up to that point, that is, paragraphs from 146 up to 176? Any objection? They are agreed. We now come to paragraph number 177. Mr. Hudson, you have the floor for 1 minute to oppose the paragraph.
Thank you, Madam President. I request a separate vote on paragraph 177. I urge my colleagues to strike this paragraph from the declaration because the language contained in this paragraph is not accurate. The existing paragraph states that the ICJ found, quote, a plausible case of genocide on the part of Israel, end quote. In reality, the ICJ did not make any decision on the merits of the case. Instead, it said that if South Africa's claims against Israel were to be found true, then there would be a plausible case that the rights affected would fall under the Genocide Convention. This is an incredibly important distinction, and I should say, as an aside, I would be willing to amend this paragraph if that were possible, but that is not possible based on our rules of procedure, and so therefore our only option is to strike this paragraph. I oppose the inclusion of imprecise language in the declaration and urge my colleagues to join me to remove the inaccurate description from the text. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of the paragraph? Mrs. Charalambides from Cyprus, please.
Yes. I know that the rapporteur, Mr. Malik, will speak, but I have to say this. The third committee took a vote. Huge majority voted for this paragraph. Only United States, Czech Republic, and Georgia voted against it. Yesterday, we had a big discussion in this room. Nothing, but absolutely nothing, in our resolution reflects what has been discussed yesterday. Most of our colleagues have said that Israel went far beyond and slaughtered 40,000 people. So by saying the facts as they are and as it is, I don't think we have to proceed by deleting this paragraph. I call the plenary to support the paragraph to remain in the resolution. Is the least we can do for all these hundreds of thousands of victims of Israel in Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you. I now ask the opinion of the committee rapporteur.
Thank you, Madam President. I will speak in French and leave a few seconds for everybody to take its phone. Alors, Madame la Présidente, lundi, lors de la 3e commission, les membres ont voté cet article à la quasi-unanimité. Ça vient d'être dit par la collègue chypriote. Seuls les États-Unis, la République tchèque et, pour d'autres raisons, la Géorgie ont voté contre. Deuxième élément, hier, nous avons tenu un débat de 2h40 et j'y ai entendu des expressions quasi unanimes de graves inquiétudes et de condamnations sévères à l'égard de la violence brutale qui s'abat sur Gaza. L'article 177 est une référence factuelle à la plus haute juridiction de la justice internationale qui, à la fin du mois de janvier, a décidé de mesures provisoires imposées à Israël compte tenu du risque plausible de génocide qu'elle identifiait. Et il n'y a donc dans cet article aucun jugement de valeur, il n'y a que des faits. Alors je sais que le règlement le permet, mais je trouve qu'il y a une forme de mépris à l'égard de la 3e commission, de vouloir s'opposer à sa volonté clairement exprimée dans cette salle. Deuxième élément, je pense qu'il y a un problème majeur à vouloir supprimer une référence factuelle aux outils de la justice internationale. Quelle sorte d'assemblée serions-nous si nous n'étions même plus capables de faire référence à la Cour internationale de justice et au vocabulaire qu'elle a utilisé dans sa décision du mois de janvier, Cour de justice internationale qui, par ailleurs, a demandé l'arrestation de Poutine. Voulons-nous vraiment affaiblir une telle juridiction ? Je pense qu'on doit être sérieux et crédible. On ne peut pas applaudir un mandat d'arrêt émis par la Cour internationale de justice contre Poutine et en même temps refuser toute référence à la Cour internationale de justice quand il s'agit d'Israël. Et donc je vous le dis avec une certaine gravité, nous devons éviter la honte et donc je demande en effet que nous votions contre la demande américaine. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. We will now vote on the paragraph, and those in favor of keeping the paragraph, please raise your cards and keep them up for a while so that we can count. Only the white voting cards, please. And keep them up for a while. It's a good exercise. Thank you. And those wishing to remove the paragraph, please raise your cards now. Thank you. And any abstentions? Do you have the numbers? I think. Thank you for your patience. There were 48 in favor of keeping the paragraph and 38 of wishing to remove the paragraph. 9 abstentions. So the paragraph is agreed to be remained. Now, does the Assembly agree to all the paragraphs after paragraph 177 up to the paragraph 207? Any objection? They are agreed. We now come to consider the supplementary items. In the plenary, we have already agreed the supplementary items on security and geopolitical challenges in the OSCE region, 10 years of armed aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine, and the deterioration of the situation of human rights in the Transnistrian region of the Republic of Moldova, and third, artificial intelligence and the fight against terrorism. So we will now move straight to the supplementary items from the 3 general committees. countering the proliferation of drugs, particularly fentanyl and other synthetic opioids, as well as mafias and criminal organizations' involvement in trafficking them. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? So we will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection to the resolution? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Next, condemning the weaponization of sexual violence in conflict zones. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? So we will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection to the resolution? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Building a comprehensive European security architecture against aggression. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? So we will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection to the resolution? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Next, strengthening the support for Ukraine. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? So we will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection to the resolution? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Next, addressing the multifaceted impacts of climate change and water scarcity in the Central Asian region through enhanced regional cooperation and parliamentary dialogue. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? So we will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection to the resolution? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. The next, youth perspectives on the future of international relations, multilateralism, and sustainable development. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? So we will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection to the resolution? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Next, preventing corruption from being used as a foreign policy tool. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? So we will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection to the resolution? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Next, environmental protection in international armed conflicts. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? So we will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection to the resolution? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Next, ending the scourge of anti-Semitism in the OSCE region. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? So we will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection to the resolution? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Next is navigating contemporary journalism and gender-related challenges. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? So we will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection to the resolution? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Next one, strengthening safe and regular pathways for migration. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? So we will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection to the resolution? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Next, strengthening actions to prevent human trafficking and protecting survivors to prevent re-trafficking. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? So we will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection to the resolution? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Next, the role of civil society in fostering democratic and inclusive societies. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? We will take the resolution as a whole. Any objection? Thank you. The resolution is agreed to. Finally, we will have to vote on the Bucharest Declaration. We will now consider the Bucharest Declaration as amended as a whole. Is there any objection to the Bucharest Declaration as amended as a whole? Two. Just one. Dear German colleague, are you objecting to the Bucharest Declaration?
Well, yes, partly because we have this paragraph that the Swiss delegation talked about, excluding the Russians. To me, this is so vital that I cannot support the declaration as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. In that case, we will now vote on the Bucharest Declaration with a show of cards. Will all those in favor of the Bucharest Declaration as amended as a whole please raise their voting cards? Thank you. And will those against the Bucharest Declaration as amended as a whole please raise your voting cards? Thank you. And any abstentions? Thank you. The Bucharest Declaration is adopted. Dear colleagues, that concludes our proceedings on the Bucharest Declaration. Thank you all for your kind cooperation. And we now move on our agenda to number 7, which is the report of the Secretary General of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, Mr. Roberto Montella. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Wow, what a morning. I'd like to bring a moment of breathing before we move on to finding out who is our next leadership and the results of the elections, which have been concluded, and I see that the tellers are here, so we'll hear from them very soon. But I would like to take a few moments to, first of all, thank Romania once again, for hosting us. You've done a fabulous job. Our members have expressed to me their satisfaction with the entire organization, with how of course, the premises have given us the possibility to work very well. We are extremely pleased with the work of the Romanian Parliament, so thank you very much to all the people who have worked. We've had 225 members of Parliament participating, 54 countries, two Mediterranean partners, Israel and Morocco, and more than 650 participants to this conference, because there are also accompanying people and staff and technical support. So I think we are a very big family, and I'm very proud of the work we've done in the last 5 days. I think this was a very successful annual session. It's been a very successful annual session from the point of view of the content. We've just heard all the resolutions that you've passed. I mean, I will not list them all, but there's been, of course, documents passed on the aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine, artificial intelligence, weaponization of sexual violence, preventing corruption, anti-Semitism, migration, preventing human trafficking. I think this assembly, who represents 1 billion citizens of the OSCE region from Vancouver to Vladivostok, has expressed itself, has expressed the will of the people on these issues. And now the next step is that these points will be presented to the foreign ministers before they meet in Valletta at the end of the year, to also hear from the people, from the representative of the people, what are the voices, the opinions, the positions of parliamentarians on all these issues. I think it has been also a successful annual session, apart from the content and the political resolutions, but also from the side events. I think there's in the last years, we've seen a proliferation of side events. I think we should welcome them, because it shows interest of individual MPs or groups to bring up issues that cannot be debated only in the plenaries because of our also rules of procedure. Sometimes they're a little bit constraining the debate, but in the side events, we've seen a lot of very good discussions, a lot of very good interactions between members. There are also a lot of other activities proliferating around our assembly. The youth network is becoming stronger and stronger and having a lot of activities. There is an OSCE running club. There's been amazing receptions that you have organized. The one in the gardens was very beautiful, apart from the Italian debacle, let's say, the football, but that's a side comment. But it was very much a very nice moment for members on the first day to get together, also socially. The event that you did in this mansion outside Bucharest was informal, with music, with the possibility of members to interacting. And I think this is also the value of this assembly. It's not just the document and the declaration that we've passed, but it's also the friendship, the connections, going across the aisle and creating network between yourselves. I think this is a forum for parliamentarians to discuss issues, but also to create networks between yourselves. And I think you've really used this possibility to the maximum. The OSCE comes out of Bucharest very strong, in my opinion, very strong politically, because of the document, because Madam President has been re-elected president for the next year, especially in a year when Finland is becoming the chairmanship. So we will have also a Finnish president of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. Madam President, also you have managed to bring here politics at the center of this assembly, but also a calmer atmosphere and more focused on doing work, doing politics, and not so much focusing on administrative issues. And for that, I personally thank you, but I think also the members thank you, because we're much more focused now on political issues. I think you have also had a very principled positions on many of the issues regarding the Secretariat, and I think this should be recognized for you. I think we also have an iconic moment yesterday when Ben Carty was recognized, a person who served the Assembly for many years. And I particularly would like to mention that, because I think we value our members not only when they are active members. I think showing respect also to the members when they go, to the members once they left. I know there was some disappointment with some former presidents being here. I don't want to get into that, but I think we are a family, and also when we serve, but also when we are left Parliament, it's good that we create this network, of course, with the different roles, and whoever is former has to have the delicate approach not to interfere with our proceedings. But I think we will have to make some adjustments on that, but I think it's good to keep this network of friends, whether you are currently serving, whether you are for a moment not serving and come back later, because it's a network of parliamentarians which focus on issues of security in this big region and can contribute whether they are active or not active. I think we come out of this assembly also financially stronger. We've heard before from the chairman in office the challenges that the OSCE has in passing a budget. the OSCE has not had a budget for 3 years because there is a consensus vote in the OSCE governmental side of the organization. And so for 3 years, they're still using the old budget of 4 years ago with allotments every month. Here in this Parliamentary Assembly, we've passed a budget with some increases. And I would like to publicly thank our Treasurer, Jan Buse, for finding a very good compromise between those who said, no increases, those who said we want to see serious cuts and some economies. I think during this month, he has been several times in Copenhagen together with Madam President. We've talked, we've looked at the figures. We're still talking about a very small budget of 4 million, but yet we've managed to do a very good adjustments there, and I think the fact that nobody objected to it in the period when the budget was public from May, and then it was unanimously adopted here at the Standing Committee is a testimony to your great work, Johan, and to the very good cooperation that you've had also with Gustavo Pallares and Stephen Paulin, our secretary, to work with our finances. So thank you very much on that. When we talk about finance, I have to also thank Austria and Denmark for hosting our offices, Italy for seconding staff, Germany for seconding staff, Estonia, San Marino, Iceland, and forgive me if I forget another one, who have decided to increase their contribution to 10,000 euro, which was called in a resolution years ago. A particular mention to Luxembourg, who has given us substantial, let's say, extra budgetary contribution to focus on a project in Southeast Europe, so I thank you for that. And as we talk about administration and finance also, I'd like to thank the Standing Committee last year for making a decision to introduce in the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly a performance financial professional audit. We used to have only financial audit in the past, now we have extended it to personal, professional, and the auditor, as you heard from the Treasurer in February, has given us an excellent report. So we will keep on doing this type of audit for the next years, because it's good to make sure that also the way we administer the taxpayers' money is absolutely checked by professionals who can give us also advice if adjustments need to be made. So thank you very much for that. From an administrative point of view, so we come out stronger politically, financially, but also administratively. The Standing Committee on Saturday re-elected me as your Secretary General. I thank them now for the first time I see you all, so I'm overwhelmed, of course, by this expression of support, by the unanimous decision of the Bureau to reappoint me. It was moving for me. It's a great honor to serve you as your Secretary General. And it also, I said it in the Standing Committee, I think I have to say it to you as well, it came after 2 years of very big difficulties in my professional but also personal life. I've had a lot of challenges during the last 2 years, but as the French say, reculer pour mieux sauter. No? You make a 2-step backwards to jump better. And I think that now we are back on the rise, and the challenges we've had both professionally but especially personally have been overcome. So I like to move on towards a better future. This success with my re-election, as I said it also at the Standing Committee, is a recognition of the work of the International Secretariat. I think that your appreciation for the work of my colleagues is always very clearly made to me after they have been on an election observation mission or on a mission of a committee, or when they accompany a special representative, those who have organized this annual session. So I think we all agree that the International Secretariat is doing an excellent work with very limited resources. There is always room for improvement, but I think they need a hand of support from you for the great work that has been done so far. Thank you very much, Gustavo, who represents all the staff here. I won't mention all of them. I know you're anxious for the result. I'll take a little bit more of your patience to say one word about the OSCE. We've had the chairman in office here in the room. I don't know if he is here. I recognize the chairman in office. The OSCE is going through some challenges, of course. Malta has issued vacancies to appoint 4 apical positions in the organization. We hope that consensus will be found in order to find a new Secretary General, a new ODIHR Director, a new High Commissioner for National Minorities, and a new representative on freedom, media freedom. This is very important because this organization needs these independent institutions to carry out its mandate. So we wish the chairman in office all the best in this, and whatever the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly can do in coordination with you to support that process, we will of course not fail to support you. Last word is to thank also all the countries who have come forth, because I've talked about those who have contributed, but I think hosting an event is a huge contribution. So I'd like to thank the upcoming chairs of Ireland, who will host our next autumn meeting, Portugal for the next annual session, San Marino, Netherlands, Andorra, the intention of Italy to host the annual session in 2027, the United States, and Luxembourg was also interested in organizing the next annual session, maybe in 2028. So, as you can see, in the past we had challenges in finding venues. Now we have secured almost up until 2028. And this is one of my biggest responsibilities. My responsibility is to find 2 countries every year to have our meetings. We are not the Council of Europe, whereas in Strasbourg it's hemicycle and can have the meetings. So every year I have to find 1 country is willing to host the annual session and 1 is willing to host the autumn meeting. Having secured it until 28, I think it's also a great testimony from you of the appreciation you have for the organization and for the work of the Secretariat. In conclusion, I would like to say a few words of recognition for a few members, and I would like to invite them to come to the podium. One is Kari Eriksson, who is leaving the Assembly. She's served as Vice President. She's served as Special Coordinator of many elections. Kari, please. And Presidential Candidate. So, Kari, please come here. She's leaving not Parliament, but this Assembly. And, of course, a special recognition to Dan Barna. I don't know, where is he? Please. And Madam President, if all of you can come down here on the podium. Of course, Dan Barna is also leaving the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly because he's been elected European parliamentarian. And we thank you for organizing this event, and we will have a little moment for you here. I think I've exhausted my long speech, but I would like to say once again that it's for me a big honor to serve you. Sometimes we are speaking too much. Sometimes we are trying to be to do our best to meet your needs, to meet your different wishes. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we do it successfully. Please bear with us. We do it with our heart, and we try to do the best we can to serve you. Thank you very much, Madam President. We have something to give. Unless you want to say something, I can just.
I just want to say thank you for all the friendship and all the hard work that you as politicians every day put forward to make the world a better place. And we are needed more than ever to make the right choices in these challenging times. I wish you all the best and good luck with your further work. Thank you.
Mrs. President, dear colleagues, dear friends, it was really an honor for me to host this 31st annual session of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly in Bucharest. In these 5 days, we sent important messages condemning the unprovoked, unjustified, and illegal war of aggression against Ukraine. We spoke about the appalling violation of human rights and about the importance of OSCE Parliamentary Assembly institutions in Ukraine by documenting the situation and by taking steps to relevant program for supporting human rights on the ground. We have also discussed about the spillover effect of the war and about other challenges it brought in areas such as hybrid attacks, energy, or food security. Republic of Moldova, its challenges and its firm resolution toward the European path were also under our scrutiny. Equally important, this assembly showed its concern about gender issue, minorities, or the dramatic situations in the Middle East. I think that the final declarations reflects in the end the balanced and comprehensive manner, in a balanced and comprehensive manner, our work, and I think it offers solid base for our future activities. Most of all, we are sending together a strong message that the OSCE and its institutions remain in these challenging times more relevant than ever. We need to support them and to support constructive solutions against the current difficulties in the electing high-level officials and in adopting a budget. Their work must be carried on full speed ahead. Dear colleagues, I was elected in the European Parliament, Roberto mentioned this, and this annual session marked the very last days of my mandate as member of the Romanian Parliament and also as OSCE head of the Romanian delegations in the Parliamentary Assembly. I would like to point out that being part of OSCE Parliamentary Assembly and co-organizing this session, it has been a tremendous but a very rewarding work for me. I'm still a bit emotional even in the end of the event. The Assembly is doing a fantastic job in promoting security, human rights, democracy, the rule of law for more than 1 billion people. More than 1 billion people are directly affected of our activity. I'm going to the European Parliament firmly determined to build upon this fabulous experience and keep hope to keep the connection with the OSCE. Thank you. Thank you very much to all of the delegations for being present in Bucharest and for your friendship and for your constructive approach on really sensitive issues. We saw one even in this final meeting. I also thank you to our Dutch colleagues, even they show no empathy to our enthusiasm last night in football match. I also thanks a lot to our organizing committee from the Chambers of Deputies and the Senate, because they succeeded to fix and create a really good event, and I hope you appreciated it. And I consider their effort quite remarkable. The International Secretariat, proven to be, again, serious, responsive, trustworthy, and it was a pleasure and an honor to have a very good cooperation. And congrats, dear friends, for your efforts. It was quite important, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Roberto, for being here constant, and thank you, Pia, for proving to be the president these organizations needed. So you succeeded in not simple time and in not simple context to run this house in a very smart and balanced manner. Congrats and thank you very much.
You choose the blue color for all the shirts you give away is not because of OSCPA, it's because of the Italian national team. Yeah, Forza Italia!
And I should be unbiased. So, dear friends, we now move on the exciting part of our agenda, and that is, of course, the election of the OSCPA officers. And I now call on First Teller Johan Buser to announce the results of the election for the 3 vice president vacancies.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank all of you who voted as well. Before announcing the results of the elections, I would like to thank the International Secretariats for a well-organized election, and the voting process went very smooth. I also would like to thank my fellow tellers, Ms. Hedi Fry and also Mr. Kyriakos Hadjidjani. And now I will go on and I will present and do the announcement of the result of the elections for vice presidents. The elections for the position of vice president have been concluded. There were 5 candidates for 3 positions. The total number of votes cast was 173. There were 0 spoiled ballots. And the results are as follows. Ms. Gudrun Kugler, Austria, received 93 votes. Mr. Luis Graça, Portugal, received 94 votes. Mr. Richard Hudson, United States of America, received 110 votes. Mr. Matti Raidma, Estonia, received 60 votes. Mr. Eugenio Sofili, Italy, received 59 votes. And the 3 elected candidates are as follows. Mr. Hudson, Mr. Graça, and Mrs. Kugler, and I congratulate them. Thank you.
My warm congratulations to all those elected. Dear colleagues, dear friends, first of all, I would like to thank you for your wide support that you have shown me today for my re-election as the President of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. It is all the more pleasant to be re-elected here in beautiful Bucharest, where we have enjoyed the hospitality and excellent arrangements by our Romanian hosts. I'm very humbled and honored that so many of you wanted to see my presidency extended to another year. It is a sign of confidence that you have put in me and my priorities. But I could not have come this far without all of you, dear colleagues. During the past year, we have worked together on issues related to security policy, parliamentary dialogue, migration, counter-terrorism, and so much more. It is truly an honor to work with so many talented politicians from different corners of the OSCE region. And like Secretary General Montella pointed out, we have an excellent secretariat placed in Copenhagen and a small team also in Vienna, and I would like to extend my gratitude to them as well. Dear colleagues, there is a lot of work ahead of us. My second year as president will be marked by important election observation missions starting this autumn in Georgia, Moldova, Uzbekistan, and the United States. Together with the Western Balkans delegates, we have started the preparations already of a field visit to that region. I will continue to follow closely the events in the Mediterranean region and the Middle East. Next year, we will be marking the 50th anniversary of the Helsinki Final Act, and Finland will take over the chairpersonship from Malta. The leadership tandem, formed by me and the Foreign Minister of Finland, Elina Valtonen, will mark upholding and restoring the respect for the Helsinki Principles, a key priority in 2025. Once again, dear friends, I wish to thank you for all your support. In facing the complex security challenges of our time, we are stronger together. Thank you. And now, my dear friends, it's time to come to an item number 9 on our agenda, which is the closure of the 31st annual session of the OSCPA. I want to thank Dan Barna and the Romanian delegation for hosting us over the past 5 days.
5 years. 5 years.
I'm starting to loosen up, you can see. Our sincere thanks go to Romanian Parliament, its leadership, members and staff for making this event possible. Thank you very much to all for your active engagement throughout this annual session. Let me also thank the leadership of our committees for guiding our work since our last annual session. My thanks also go to members who have proposed the supplementary items which we have debated here in Bucharest. Thanks to our debates over the past 5 days, I'm sure that we return back home more knowledgeable on a variety of issues dealt with by the OSCE. Let us congratulate again members who have been elected to the Bureau. Thank you everyone, and thank you Romanian Parliament and the International Secretariat for organizing this annual session. There are many people involved in the organization of meetings like this, all the people behind the scenes who provide technical and logistical support, the interpreters who have worked long hours, the people who make sure that the meeting rooms are well equipped, and the photographers and IT specialists. Their hard work has made this a successful meeting. Let us all give them a warm round of applause. The 31st annual session is now closed. Thank you, everyone.